Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Get Course Careers podcast. In today's episode, we'll be taking a deep dive into the world of childcare and how you can get started in the industry if you feel like helping children to learn and grow is your calling. I'm joined today by Tarnisha Mills. She's a dedicated professional from the Gold Coast with over a decade of experience working in the childcare industry. Over the years in her career, Tarni's worked her way up the ranks from being a school-based trainee right up to a lead educator, running her own room and programs in a childcare centre. Throughout this chat, Tarni takes us through the key skills and qualifications you need to succeed in childcare, what it's like at each level of employment, how to go about getting jobs, and of course, what makes working with children as a career so rewarding. So buckle in and let's get the conversation started. Tarnisha Mills, welcome to the podcast. How are you today?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm great. I'm excited for today's lineup. You were the first person to come to mind when I thought childcare. For anybody that is just joining us for the first time here, Tarni's actually a high school friend of mine. We go way back. And I thought you were going to be the best person for this podcast because literally since our high school days, you've been studying childcare. I remember when we were doing traineeships, I was off doing my multimedia stuff while you would do childcare. And yeah, I wanted to bring you in. So are you ready?
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm ready.
All right. So for an icebreaker today, I wanted to ask you not a trick question, but if you could sum up the childcare worker job description using only a song title, what would it be and why?
Oh God. I'm a Taylor Swift fan, so
I
I'm
do.
gonna say "Shake It Off" by Taylor Swift. I think
Shake it off.
yeah, I think it's a fun, upbeat song. It's got like a energetic and playful vibe, which kind of resonates with the lively environment in childcare. Um, Plus, the song's message about shaking it off and staying positive kind of points to the resilient attitude you need to successfully manage a busy day with children.
Love it. I kind of low key was already preempting that you were going to pick a Taylor Swift song, but I was totally right. So shake it off. That's a goodie. All right. So the title of the conversation today is going to be how to become a childcare worker. And I think a good place to start with all of this and set the scene would just be, what made you want to work in a role like this? Like, why childcare?
Yeah, I think from a young age, I was always kind of, naturally drawn to children. I come from a big family with a lot of siblings. And so, caring for my younger siblings and interacting with them was something that I enjoyed doing when I was younger. When I got a little bit older, I'd offer babysitting services to, family and friends of family to get a little bit of extra pocket money.
She's a
Um,
businesswoman too.
yeah. Well, and that ended up leading to opportunities like tutoring younger children that I knew. I think by the time I was like 14 or 15, caring for children and interacting with them kind of came second nature to me.
Yeah.
And I realized that it did give me a sense of fulfillment. It was when I reached year 11 in high school.
Mm.
It was through the vet courses offered in year 11 and 12 that I chose to enroll in the Cert III in children's services,
Uh-huh.
which I now believe is called the Cert III in Early Childhood Education and Care. But yeah, I studied this over years 11 and 12.
Mhm.
And to gain this qualification, I also had to complete 200 hours of practical experience in an early childhood setting.
So were you
And
able to do that at while you're at school though, like the 200 hours?
yeah, that's right. So when you enroll in that through school, they
Hmm.
actually organise the prac placements for you. They get in touch with local childcare centres
Yep.
and organise for you to come out one day a week to complete that practical training.
That's awesome.
So yeah, it was when I did the placement through grade 11 and 12 that I could really see the connections that the educators had with the children,
Mm.
and the impact that they had on them every day. And that kind of solidified my decision to pursue it as a career. So after graduating high school, I continued my education by going on to enroll in the Diploma of Early Childhood Education and Care.
Hmm.
And thanks to the practical placements that I did through the diploma, I was actually offered my first role as an early childhood educator.
That's bloody awesome. So by doing the diploma and doing more placement, you were able to actually make connections that led to a role. You didn't even have to apply. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. So I was actually quite lucky. It was my second day on placement when I was studying my diploma
Uh-huh.
that the childcare centre actually approached me and said, "Hey, can you bring in a resume?" um, yeah, so I did that. I was employed, and very lucky to be able to complete my workplace hours while getting paid.
Yeah, absolutely. So with placement as well, when you walk in there, do they just chuck you on the floor and expect you to be, an educator straight away? Or like, do they give you tiny jobs? Like, what do they expect of you when you go in there?
There's definitely a lot of support. So when you go in, you'll generally be assigned to a room with an
Hmm.
educator who will supervise and mentor you. They're going to start you off pretty easy. You might have less responsibility in the sense of, how the room runs, but you're going to help interact with the kids. You're going to help carry out the duties needed throughout the day. And the whole point of that is each unit you're studying, you want to get signed off for a practical component of that.
Sure.
So they'll have you doing a bunch of different things eventually over the time of your prac.
Ticking off the boxes.
Yeah, and that could be with a whole bunch of different age groups too. So yeah, it's good. The whole point of it is to give you the experience you need to go into it, qualified.
Yeah. Hi everyone, I hope you're enjoying the episode so far. I just quickly wanted to interrupt to let you know that if you find Tarni's story inspiring and you want to get started as a childcare worker yourself, GetCourse can help you get started. Here at GetCourse, we partner with leading education providers in Australia that offer nationally recognised training to get you job ready for the childcare industry. For more information on the childcare courses we have available, click the link in the description or visit my.getcourse.com.au/childcare to make an inquiry today. That's my.getcourse.com.au/childcare. Now, let's get back to the episode. Wicked. All right, cool. And then when it comes to childcare worker skills and personal qualities, what are the ones that are absolutely mandatory if you want to thrive in this kind of role? Like, what do you have to have?
How much time do we have?
We've got forever, darling.
To thrive in this kind of role, I think a combination of skills and personal qualities are really essential. There's sometimes a misconception that childcare workers are just sitting around all day playing with children or that they're babysitters. But in reality,
like hell.
It's so much more than that. I think having effective communication skills is a really big one. Throughout your day, you're constantly communicating with your co-workers, families and parents, the children in your care, sometimes even other industry professionals.
Mm-hmm.
You do a lot of written communication as well through like daily cleaning checklists. You're documenting toileting, sleep, eating. And with that written communication, you're also doing daily learning programs for children, which is documenting their individual learning. And that gets delivered to parents. So yeah, I think just having really good communication skills all around is going to be helpful to you.
Yeah.
Another big one is time management. In childcare, it is a very busy environment with a lot going on. So having good time management is really going to help your day run smoothly.
Mm-hmm.
If you have good time management, it's obviously going to ensure that all your tasks and responsibilities within your role are carried out efficiently. And that's going to make for a less stressful time and improve your productivity.
I feel like I would suck at that bit. I'm not the most organized guy, I've got to admit.
We can all be guilty of it sometimes. But I think particularly working with children, having good time management is going to ensure high quality care for children. You've got to balance their varying needs, opportunities for learning, play, rest. And children really thrive on routine as well. So I think helping maintain a consistent and predictable environment for them is going to provide stability and further support their development.
Children, like, they also are like clockwork too. Like, they've got to eat at a particular time, sleep at a particular time. They've got to play at a particular time. When they're going to nap. Like, I could imagine that would be a nightmare if you've got like 15 children all lined up at once.
Yeah, and sometimes you have more than 15 in a classroom, depending on
And what
their
if they don't
age,
want to sleep or they don't want to eat at the time that everyone else wants to?
Exactly. Exactly. There's a lot going on. And yeah, you've got to allow opportunities for being spontaneous as well and kind of working around them. But yeah, just having a good structure for time management is really important.
Mm-hmm. What else is mandatory?
I think another one that would be absolutely mandatory is having a positive disposition. When I say that, I kind of mean that as an umbrella term for a few things, but being optimistic and having a constructive attitude towards stressful situations or setbacks. It's going to happen a lot of the time in a busy environment with varying needs. So yeah, just kind of having that kind of attitude helps. They're young, they're impressionable.
Yes.
You want to make the environment as positive as you can.
Yeah,
And
100%. Because they pick up on nervous energy too, don't they? Like they can
yeah,
feel it.
definitely. And they're learning too. So role modeling resilience and empathy is going to help with their development in the long run too. And just being adaptable. It's an ever-changing environment. So having a positive disposition is really going to help you.
Yeah, I love it.
I think the last big one, and it might sound funny, but just the ability to be a kid sometimes. Like I said, they're young. They're there to learn and have fun.
Yeah.
But just really taking a step back and understanding their world and how they view it can make a huge difference, make learning fun, and allow you to be a positive influence in their life.
And it's so easy to when you said that, it's so easy in our adult lives for the stress and commotion just of life admin to get you down and forget that kiddie way. So
that's right. Yeah.
I guess like being around 15 children all day, you've kind of got to dip back into that, don't you?
Yeah. Look, it's no fun unless you can get down and, get amongst it with them.
Yeah, cool. All right. So they're the personal attributes that one definitely needs. But as far as childcare worker qualifications go, what is the bare minimum? I know we just covered that you started with the Cert III. So is that where we start, or is there something people can do even earlier? Or how does the whole qualification scale work?
Yeah, so the bare minimum qualification required to actually work in an early childhood service is the Cert III in early childhood education and care. However, I believe that if you are enrolled in the certificate and you're actively working towards your qualification as an educator, you can still be employed and counted in child to educator ratios.
Right. Would you just have to have like a lesser role? Like you go in there as an assistant or a trainee, or
no, so you'd still go in as an assistant, but it's just recognised that you're actively working towards that qualification. So under the national regulations, it has more information on what that looks like. But yeah, actively working towards. So you're enrolled, you're studying. Some places will take you on.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right. And are there any other background checks or certifications that you need other than, the nationally recognized certification? Or is the Cert III like the bare minimum and everything that you need is included inside of that?
So no, there are additional things that you need. On top of your Cert III, you also need a blue card.
Right.
That's required for anyone working with children, and it just involves like a thorough assessment of your criminal history to ensure that you're suitable to work with children.
Yep.
And that needs to be renewed every 3 years. And with that, you also have your first aid and CPR. These are both mandatory for working within childcare services. Yep. And they generally include asthma and anaphylaxis training as well, more specific to the childcare industry. And that's just ensuring that everyone's equipped to handle emergencies and effectively respond to a variety of situations. So your first aid needs to be renewed every 3 years, and your CPR is annually.
Right.
In my experience when studying, they do tend to sort these things out for you throughout your course.
Yep.
But once you're in the industry, it's going to be your responsibility to renew your blue card and do that first aid and CPR when it's required.
What are those things costly as well? Like, do you have to pay a fee every time you renew, or?
Yeah, so the blue card that you have to pay for. Luckily, it is only every 3 years, so it's not as big of an outlay as often. And in my experience, first aid and CPR are generally taken care of in your workplace. But I do know there are some places that would require you to pay that yourself, but would generally provide the resource for you. On top of that, there might be some other workplace training under their specific policies that are required. That could be just annual child protection training or safe food handling practices.
Oh, wicked. All right. So if the Cert III in early childhood education and care is the minimum, what roles can someone apply for once they've got that? Can they go straight in and be like a room coordinator, or is there a particular level that they're capped to with that qualification?
Yeah, so this qualification would allow you to work as an assistant educator in a childcare service.
Right.
So essentially, you're assisting the lead educator with all the tasks they're responsible for. So you would still work directly with the children, assisting with their daily activities and their educational programs, their learning and development and their care needs. But the lead educator role is the responsible person for those things.
Can I get this in my mind? The assistant educator will pretty much just help facilitate what the lead educator is planning and putting together. Is that right?
Yes. Yeah, that's
Okay.
correct.
And you've been both, haven't you?
Yeah, so when I initially got my first job in childcare, I started as a float. Now,
Float.
this is a certificate qualified person, but they might refer to a float as someone who floats around the centre.
Right.
So you're not permanently in a room.
Okay.
But you might move between the rooms in the centre to relieve people for lunch breaks, or you might be doing cleaning or working in a kitchen. It's just kind of a bit of everything sort of job.
Sure.
And after I did that for a little bit of time, I was then put in a room as an assistant educator. So you go in this room every day. You're with those children and those staff. And as I spoke about earlier, you're there to assist with everything that goes on in the day. And then in my time as a lead educator, after I got my diploma, you are responsible for all the learning programs. And that can be, documenting observations of children's individual learning, creating the daily group learning programs.
Yes.
Yeah. So everyone in the team definitely has their roles, but everyone kind of does a bit of everything as well.
Sure. And I guess the assistant and the lead role, did you find those ones a little bit more fulfilling because you get to spend time with the same children and sort of see them progress and develop? I guess with the float role, that one sounds like a bit of a mishmash kind of thing.
Yeah, it depends who you talk to, really. Some people love being in that position where it looks different every day. They're going into different age groups with different staff members all the time. And
Sure.
that really works for some people. I myself prefer the consistency. I
Yes.
like being tied to a room and getting to know those children and those families and,
Yeah.
having your own system of how things work within the room. I think, yeah, suits me a bit better.
And I wanted to also just dig a little bit more on the lead educator role that you switched into. So when you went from assistant to lead educator, was that a bit of a shock? Because from what you've just described already, assisting with what needs to be implemented and being told what needs to be done versus coming up with what needs to be done, they're two totally different roles. So how did that go, doing your transition to that?
I think it was okay. I think I was really lucky that while I was in my assistant role, I had a really great lead educator who helped me learn how to program and gave me opportunities to practice and was very collaborative, so giving me opportunities to have input and, make decisions towards the children's learning gave me that kind of experience and practice to have confidence going into it myself.
Hi everyone, I hope you're enjoying the episode so far. I just quickly wanted to interrupt to let you know that if you find Tarni's story inspiring and you want to get started as a childcare worker yourself, GetCourse can help you get started. Here at GetCourse, we partner with leading education providers in Australia that offer nationally recognised training to get you job ready for the childcare industry. For more information on the childcare courses we have available, click the link in the description or visit my.getcourse.com.au/childcare to make an inquiry today. That's my.getcourse.com.au/childcare. Now, let's get back to the episode. Right. So there was a bit of prep work beforehand. It wasn't just like, boom, you're creating programs now.
No, I wasn't thrown in the deep end. A bit of practice is always good.
Awesome. Okay, you have to be honest with this next question. When it comes to childcare worker duties and responsibilities, which ones do you love and which ones do you absolutely hate? Okay, and why?
For me, my least favorite is easy.
What?
I don't love doing nappies or the toileting side of things.
Yeah.
I don't know anyone who says that they enjoy doing nappy changes for 15 plus children in a row. Or the
100%.
Challenges that come with toilet training young children for the first time.
Oh, chaos. I could just imagine it now. Oh my God.
It's absolutely necessary and it's no fault to anyone, but it is definitely my least favorite part of the job.
Yeah, got to be done, but it's in there. No, I love your honesty. And what about the best bit?
Definitely when I worked as a lead educator, I did really love planning and implementing the learning programs for children each day. I found it really fun getting to use that creativity and kind of what you learn about the children and their interests to come up with activities and experiences, that spark their interest and their enthusiasm. So, really letting them learn and develop through play, which is the whole point of childcare.
Yeah.
I found that side of things more exciting than a task or a responsibility.
Did you also find it really fulfilling when things or concepts you've been trying to teach children, you see it sink in?
Yeah, absolutely. That's one of the most rewarding parts of the job, doing things with intention and seeing the payoff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%. And seeing their face light up for the first time because they understood something, or I could imagine that would be great.
Yeah, it really is.
Just leading on from that, you just said before that when you were a lead educator, just catch us up because I don't think we've covered this yet in the conversation. But what are you doing now? So are you in a childcare centre, or what's the state of the environment that you're in?
Yeah, so I now currently work as a teacher aide in a primary school.
Right.
Yeah, so I worked in the childcare industry for about 7 years.
Yep.
And while I really loved working with children, I just felt like I needed some sort of change.
Yeah.
And that got me thinking to, what could I do that's still working with children, but, something slightly new. And yeah, that led me to teacher aiding.
And what was the transition into that job though? Like, was it purposeful? Did you see a job advertised? Like, how did you take that new direction?
Well, when I was thinking of jobs that could still allow me to work with children, that one popped into my head.
Right.
So I did a little bit of research and I found that having a diploma meant I didn't actually need the specific certificate that teacher aides study.
Right.
So yeah, I just went for it. I sent out my credentials to a bunch of schools and in an email saying, hey, look, here's what I've got. I'm keen to work. And yeah, that landed me my first relief role where I was employed as casual relief in a primary school, which I did for a few months until finding a permanent position where I now work with preps.
That's cool. And you're furthering your studies now as well, aren't you?
Yeah, that's right.
So what's next on the study agenda then?
Yeah, so since working in a primary school, I've kind of got a feel for what that looks like, and I've decided that I want to be a teacher.
Wow.
So now, yeah, while working as a teacher aide, I'm studying my Bachelor of Education. Yeah, we'll eventually go on to be a teacher myself.
That's amazing. And are you going to teach in primary schools? Is that you want to be like have your own room in the primary school?
Yeah, that would be the ideal goal. I'd really love to work with, prep grade 1 or 2, but I will be qualified to teach up to grade 6. So we'll see how we go.
Good morning, Miss Mills.
I get that already as a teacher aide.
I love it. All right, cool. Let's go back to childcare for a second. So for anybody that's wanting to start their childcare career and they might have an interview coming up or they are getting themselves prepared to start applying for jobs, what are some common questions that might come up in a childcare worker interview, and what are some good ways to respond to those questions? Or actually, even if you've fudded some questions, like what are some ones that you screwed up and like what can we learn from that?
I can't think of anything I've screwed up. I think if I have, I probably put that far out of my mind and tried to ignore it. But in my experience, I think you can always expect the standard questions like, tell me a bit about yourself, or what are your strengths and weaknesses? So it's always good to go into an interview, prepared for all sorts of questions that might come your way.
Yeah.
However, a couple that might be a bit more specific to a childcare interview could be why you want to work in the childcare industry or why you want to work at that service in particular. I think here it's important to do your research a little bit. Have a squiz on the childcare centre's website that you're applying for. You might look at what rating did they get? Are they exceeding? Maybe that could be a good point to talk about.
Yeah.
Obviously, why you want to work in the childcare industry is going to be very specific to you. You might also get asked what qualities or skills you have that would make you a good fit for the role or service, or what you most like about working with children or what you dislike.
Yeah.
I just think it's really important to ask yourself these questions, before you go into an interview so you can be certain and confident in your responses. My advice would be to be really honest and really highlight your strengths. So even if you don't have any experience in the industry yet, you can still use your personal or previous work experience to really highlight the skills relevant within the early childhood education and care setting.
Yeah.
I think as long as you do have a genuine passion for caring for and educating children, then that'll work in your favor. I think we all have to start somewhere, but, having an openness to learn new things and showing a little bit of initiative goes a long way in the childcare industry.
Yeah, and not going in as a know-it-all, right? Show that you're willing to learn.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Do you know what? The thing that you said before about, tell me a bit about yourself, that's actually hard. Sometimes, like when you get put on the spot, then people just go, "Tell me about yourself." You're like, "Ugh, what?"
I know.
I find it difficult anyway. If people on the spot ask me to tell me about myself, I'm like, "There's 50,000 things I could tell you. Which one's the most relevant?
Yeah, and you don't want to sound like you're gloating either.
No,
But no one can
delicate.
answer that question better than you.
Yeah, 100%. I did also quickly want to touch on childcare worker salary expectations when it comes to employment type. Like, we don't have to go into like to the cent how much you can expect to earn, but I do know that with casual employment, full-time employment, and I think even contractor work, which I believe you've done all of these, haven't you?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, because based on people's lifestyles and schedules, casual employment, full-time employment, or especially the contractor work, might suit better. So what sort of pay differences come about with stuff like that? And also, not only like with the type of employment, but the level as well.
Yeah. So the childcare award pays based on your qualification and your experience, and it uses level systems. So obviously, you would have the director of the service on the highest level, and then diploma qualified, and then certificate 3. And so those levels will go up each year that you gain experience as well, increasing
Okay.
your wage each time. So yeah, if you're on a full-time or a part-time contract, you're obviously going to be on a lower pay rate than you would casual.
Yeah.
But you have the benefits of sick pay, annual leave, those kind of things that come with being on a permanent contract. Being casual, you're obviously going to be on a higher pay rate. I believe it's 25% more that
Oh, wow. Okay.
casuals get paid over a part-time or a full-time wage, but then you don't have, the benefits that you get with a part-time or a full-time contract. It doesn't offer the same stability or the consistency of hours. Another point to factor in too is that a lot of childcare centres are becoming competitive and offering above award wages as well. So that could mean, getting more than the award if you are employed by a centre that does offer that. Some places do also offer above award based on your experience too.
Well, that totally makes sense, actually. But when you say they're offering above because it's competitive, is that because childcare workers are becoming increasingly in demand at the
Yeah, that's
moment?
right. Yeah. I think there is really a high demand for educators in the childcare industry at the moment. And that's led
Yeah.
to a lot of places, saying, hey, look, we can offer more if you come work for us.
That's
So
Hey,
yeah.
that's good to know for people that are up and coming in the industry, though. It means there's lots of opportunity.
Yeah, definitely. I don't think there will ever be a shortage of childcare jobs.
So what about with the agency work? Because you're pretty much going and working in different centers all the time. So does that mean each pay scale is going to be different all the time?
Not quite. So with agency work, essentially what it is there will be an agency that employs you, and they'll be in contact with a bunch of childcare centres, all over the Gold Coast.
Yep.
And as those jobs come up, they'll just send it out to whoever's suitable. It could go off who's closer or what qualification you have. And offer you shifts for the day. You're going to get that shift based on your qualification. So
Okay.
my pay rate is going to be based off diploma qualified, versus someone who might be Cert III qualified. And with that, the agency will offer you a pay rate based on, your skills, your experience, and your qualification, and
Yeah.
pay you accordingly.
Yeah, cool. And upon reflection, this is going to be my last question, so we can wrap up. Upon reflection, what part of your job as a childcare worker did you find the most fulfilling?
I honestly love the connections and the relationships that you form with the children in your care.
Yeah.
Some of them might come one day a week and others might be there 5 days a week. So,
Mm.
some of these children are there, for more waking hours with you than they are their own parents. All families have different working responsibilities, and that looks different for everybody. But, when these children are coming into your care and you're spending so much time interacting with them and caring for them, I think you get to know them really well, and you build these really trusting relationships with them. And you can use that in so many ways too to support them. And when you see them achieve those milestones and make new learning achievements, it can be really rewarding knowing that you help play a part in that.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, what a great way to end the conversation. That was awesome. Um,
Thank you.
so that's a wrap. If anybody has any questions, make sure you leave us a comment and I will check in with Tarni and we'll get you some answers. Tarni, thank you so much for joining us today. And
Thank you for having me.
I can't wait till our next chat where we're probably going to, sit and have a coffee, being
Can't
friends.
wait.
All right. Thank you. Bye.